us. And thank you, Albany Business Review, for having me at this wonderful and inspiring event. And thank you to the guests here today that are taking the time for self-development and growth here at the Empower Women series. So why am I here? I'm a former professional jockey from Brazil who came to America at 19 years old with $4,000 I had saved up to continue the pursuit of my apprentice jockey career. I'm also a former broadcast journalist, like David mentioned. I worked for Yahoo Finance and many other outlets, but decided to migrate to finance and blend my skills in competition and financial acumen here at Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. And today I want to share with you, talk to you about my journey and how my journey of transitions can help you also turn the corner in your career and your life. I hope my experience is helpful. So I want to start by telling you the story of one of my biggest races in America, one of my first big races in America. It was at Calder Race Course. My mentor, Manuel Cruz, he had asked me, I was studying the program to ride the race, and he had asked me, so how are you going to ride this race? And I said, well, I'm going to stalk the speed. And he said, stalk the speed. And I said, yes, my horse likes to make one run. I'm going to stay off the lead and stalk the speed. And he said, what if the speed horse stumbles at the break? What if your horse stumbles and you're in the back of the pack? What are you going to do then? And I thought, and I said, I don't know. I hadn't thought that far. So he said, when that gate opens, you have to be ready for every scenario to play out. When that gate opens, anything can happen. You have your plan A, but do you have a plan B to be ready for when that plan A doesn't work out? What about plan C if plan B doesn't work out, plan D, and so on? You have to account for every scenario and be prepared. So actually, he said, I'm sorry, he said you have to account for every scenario. Funny thing, in that particular race, the speed horse stumbled at the break. And I was like, what are the chances of that? I find myself on the lead. I get my horse to relax. I slow down the speed, and I win the race by 6 lengths. And, if Manuel Cruz hadn't taught me that lesson, I wouldn't be ready to take advantage of that opportunity. My mentor, Manuel Cruz, who at the time was a 6-time leading jockey at Calder and horse racing, taught me a very powerful lesson that day: to be prepared for anything, to have a plan, but also have a plan B, a plan C, and not just in races, but in life. It taught me to stay cool under pressure and execute my plans. And when I had to execute my plan D in life, it taught me to find my inner strength, no matter how deep I had to dig down and yank it out. But the lessons don't just come from winning, right? I lost more races than I won. Some of my best life lessons came from losing. And that's the secret to success. You have to be willing to learn from your mistakes and do better next time. It's that simple, because it's a numbers game. If you haven't failed, you're not trying hard enough. And what this pandemic did to us, it really reminds me of what I went through when I lost my career as a jockey because of my injuries. So what I want to share with you today is how you too can overcome obstacles in life-altering events like a 6-length winner. And I'm also going to share with you my growth strategy, which I dubbed the good karma process. And finally, also want to share how you can prepare yourself and your business for a post-COVID 2021 world and anything else that life throws at you. So first, overcoming obstacles. If there's anything losing my jockey career has taught me, it's that the end is just a new beginning. There's no reason to fear change. The only constant in life is change. So why are we always afraid of life throwing us off track? No pun intended. So I had been an equestrian all my life. Horses were always in my life, and I love them. They were my emotional outlet. So when I found out that I could get paid to ride hundreds, maybe even thousands of race horses, instead of paying to ride them in lessons, I knew I had to be a jockey. I was 16 years old when I joined the apprentice jockey school in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and one of a handful of us women in the country. I was able to get an exception because I was lucky. I lived nearby, and the apprentice jockey school was actually a boarding school for boys of poor communities. So I was always looked on as an outsider because I was a middle-class girl from Ipanema. So the racetrackers didn't take me seriously. They called me Clear Eyes, the eye droplets. And as a naive 16-year-old girl, I asked them what that meant, and they said, well, you're a pretty thing to look at on the track, but that's pretty much it. So a year later, I was falling behind in wins from all the new boys that were coming in. And by the third new boy that came around, I saw what was going on. There's something wrong here. And it was the glass ceiling. At that point, I had two choices: quit and go to college like every other normal person, or try harder in the land of opportunity. I was in touch online with John Da Silva. He was a handicapper for the New York Post at the time. And he wanted to learn about Brazilian horse racing, and I wanted to learn American style. I met his business partner in Brazil, who said he'd sign my papers to come to America. He was a horse trainer in Florida, and he said that he could be my jockey agent there. That was my out. And that opportunity never would have happened if I wasn't inquisitive and open to taking risks for a better return on my investment. So I got a one-way ticket to Miami and stayed at John's father's house, and quickly realized that I was on my own. I had to fend for myself. So I went around during morning workouts, made a lot of friends, and thanks to those friends, I got a lot of opportunities that I had prayed and worked so hard for. That's when Manuel Cruz took me under his wing and turned my raw talent into something workable. And then 10 wins, including the Lindsay Frolic Stakes, and 5 months later, I moved to New York, where my career really took off. So at the NYRA tracks, like David mentioned, Belmont Park here downstate was my home base. Aqueduct Racetrack and Saratoga Racecourse up in Albany, up by Albany. I rode with some of the best jockeys in the country, in the world, some Hall of Famers, and beat them all at their game. Turf, dirt, long, short, it didn't matter. But it was tough. Horse racing in America is like horse racing in anywhere in the world. It was always hard to break through that glass ceiling in my sport, because trainers would expect things from me that wouldn't involve riding racehorses. And throughout my career, I lost horses, I lost opportunities, and I even lost entire barns because of people's gender expectations. But there were the ones, though, who believed in me and my capabilities and professionalism. Thanks to those, supporters, I was given the opportunity to shine. I rode in thousands of races, won over 100, but due to injuries, my career was cut short, specifically because of concussions and TBI. I began to question the sustainability of my career as a jockey. There's a reason why you don't see a lot of 50-year-old jockeys, racing horses out there. At least not a lot of them, very few. It was 2013 when I had my major accident and began asking those questions. I was never afraid of, things happening to me, but that really threw me off. I had PTSD. The whole brain injury thing was a problem. But even so, I returned to racing after that injury. But then a few months later, horse breaks down with me on the training track at Belmont. I go flying, and I got re-injured even worse. At that point, there was something wrong with me, and I didn't know what it was. I looked perfect on the outside, but inside I was in so much pain, I couldn't even explain the kind of pain that I was feeling. And all the accidents, everything that I was feeling, we didn't know back then that it was concussion symptoms that made me forget what horse I'd be riding next in what race, or where I parked my car every morning. And there's this just one little thing, right? How could I leave the racetrack if my only income comes when I'm riding a horse in a race? So I actually secretly planned my exit from the track, because if the racetrackers knew, they wouldn't give me horses to ride, and I wouldn't be able to pay rent. Nobody wants to ride an injured jockey. So I made a short-term plan for my entrance into a new career. I studied for the SATs, got a part-time bartending job, and got into college. I had it all planned out. 2020 is a good experience about that. Life doesn't really care about your plans. You know, workman's comp appealed my case for over a year, and my private disability policy only started covering me about 3 months after I stopped racing, and I had enough saved to barely make it. And my main goal for the next 4 years was to keep my apartment and get scholarships. And when I stopped racing in 2014, everything went dark. In my prime, I had known which horses I'd be riding in which races for up to a year down the line. I was that in tune with my work. Then, lying under the covers at home in the middle of a sunny August, I had zero visibility into my future. Zero visibility and no more horses. I had no idea where life, would be for me a year from then. If I would lose my apartment, if I even would be better physically, if I'd ever get better. All I knew was that I'd start college the following month and have student loan debt. But just like you can drive a car from New York to California in pitch black using just your headlights, life develops in front of you. You just need to be ready and willing to jump on that next opportunity when it shows up. So I got tired of being under the covers and watching the world turn without me. I found my strength and did the only thing I knew how to do: stop complaining and be a jockey. And what I mean by that is that I put my heart and soul into becoming good at my next profession, financial broadcast journalist. If I want something to go well, I need to put my heart and soul into it, my full dedication, and jump with both feet. How many times did I hear that I wouldn't amount to anything as a jockey, that it would be impossible to get an on-camera job in New York City? In Brazil, New York, Miami, there was always a reason not to try. But I did it. I accomplished every goal that I set out for myself. And if something's in your way right now, get it out of the way. Find a way around it. You're competent. You know what you're good at. Every day, I leave a little bit of time to do something that I'm good at and research something that I'm not so great at. You just need to push that sprout through the dirt so that you can break out. Turn on that heat lamp and light a path forward. Become a professional evolver. Be comfortable being a phoenix. So how do you begin again stronger than before? Start by understanding your strengths and limitations. You know what you're good at and what you can improve upon. So that's where I mentioned that every day I try to do something I'm good at and not, because you constantly need to be improving yourself. And I'm going to develop that point a little bit later. So when people dream of death, it's funny. They often think it's a bad thing, but it's not. It means rebirth and new beginnings. The more times you go through a traumatic event, the easier it is to get through it the next time. Don't see it as a bad thing. Embrace it. Use it to your advantage. Use that experience as an advantage. The quicker you build your adaptation and pivoting skills, the quicker you'll be able to build something new for yourself, to move on from a loss, and to drive your life where you want it to go. You can make that happen for yourself. And it's like being an athlete, right? When you practice your craft over and over again, it becomes second nature. So let me tell you about embracing the good karma process. There was this one year I was riding in Saratoga. Shout out to my upstate New York friends there. Manuel Cruz came up to ride a string of horses Kenny McPeak had brought up from Kentucky. Manny Cruz was McPeak's go-to jockey in Florida. I hadn't seen him since I left Calder, and it was a tough season for me. So I was really looking forward to seeing him and talking to him. So we met one morning and went around in his golf cart and checked out some barns, caught up on life. And when I told him how hard things were, he once again taught me a very valuable lesson in an interesting way. Funny way he likes to teach people lessons, so metaphorically. So he told me to open my hands And I was like, open my hands. And he said, yeah, open your hands. Okay, here you go. No, he said, no, like this. Put your hand out. I said, okay. So he grabs some rocks from the ground, from the floor, and puts one rock in my hand. And he says, what's in your hand? And I said, a rock. Okay. What he puts another two. What's in your hand now? 3 rocks. Puts another 3. 6 rocks. Said, now close your hand into a fist. So I closed my hand into a fist and all the rocks fell to the ground. He said, how many things can I fit in your hand now? And I said, nothing. And he said, exactly. He said, when you're open-handed, I can fit so many things in your hand. Every inch of your hand, I can put something in it. If you're closed off, selfish, and not caring about others, you're not open to receiving anything. You have to give to receive. You have to be open to be able to receive, to be able to grow. Be kind to people. And, it's very interesting because he said that on the racetrack, there's people from all the way from the groom to the owner, right? It's a big spectrum there in incomes and in life experiences. And on the racetrack, we have a tradition that every time we win a race, the next morning we bring breakfast, like bagels or donuts, to the barn to show appreciation for the help, for the grooms, for the foreman, and everybody. And those were some of my proudest moments. But I learned then and there with Manuel Cruz that I didn't need to wait for something to happen to be kind to people. I didn't need to get something to give. And when I was a jockey on a horse, I had to suppress my kind gene. I had to be tough, competitive, and thick-skinned. Only one of us could win. And that really closed me off. I got really like an angry person. And then Cruz taught me, look, you got to be kind to the grooms. You got to be kinder to the grooms. Talk to, the foreman, the groom's the guy who's with your horse every day. He's the one that's going to help you and tell you what horse you should be riding and what horse you shouldn't. Actually, once I started showing more of my appreciation for everybody that I worked with, my career actually started, getting a little better. And not only did it get better career-wise, but I felt better about going to work. So, much of the preparation that sets you up for success in a race comes from the actual training, information, and access you receive before jumping on a horse. The race is the last thing. It's the outcome. And that preparation grows in spades when you're kind. I learned that even in a competitive sport, I could help people and that it could be actually good for business. And that's what gave me the inspiration for the good karma process when I came to wealth management. Giving and helping others is how I build trust. And it's the way I build my business. It works for me. And I really hope that it can work for you. Like as an example, I still have a lot of friends from my journalism days, and it's a tough industry. It's in decline and consolidation. So a lot of them are going through hard times. One of those friends of mine, we chatted last year about his finances. We came up with a financial plan and different things that he could do to execute. And I helped him with my expertise and an open ear, even though he couldn't be my client. Now this year, his partner became my client. If I hadn't been open to helping everyone equally, no matter how much money they have, I wouldn't have opened this new account. And that's what the good karma process is all about. It comes back to you. I learned the value of equality when I was a jockey, and I believe that everyone should get a fair shot in life to succeed, get that opportunity. And that's all I do, really. I talk to people about their finances every day to see what can I do to help them become more successful than they already are. What information or resources can I give people so that they can become, successful and grow? If you spread good in the world, good will come back to you. Wouldn't it be nice to grow your business by helping people and providing solutions to their problems? When you show people you care, you build trust. And don't we all prefer working with somebody we like and trust, right? Finally, I want to tell you about how you can build your future through evolution. Times, they are changing, a wise man once said. It was actually Bob Dylan, and I heard he just won the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature recently. Apparently, we all enjoy a good song better than a book this year, 2020. So remember, the only constant in life is change, right? So once you become that phoenix, you need the tools to be ready for what life throws at you. And here's where we get to the real questions. Every day I ask myself, what am I going to do to evolve? Am I building my human capital? Am I building relationships? Am I recession-proofing myself by learning new skills? Am I making myself more valuable and efficient in the labor market by acquiring new technologies and processes? This COVID-19 shutdown forced us all to reassess where our priorities are and be creative with what we do with our time. For me, I'm getting a pandemic master's in finance, for example, and the question now, goes back to you. How are you choosing to spend your time? And how will you commit to improving yourself and giving yourself the love you deserve next year in 2021 when you lose that time? You have to think about that, because the decisions you make today should be ready for execution in 2021. Companies like Zoom, Salesforce, even Walmart are built on solving their customers' problems, and Merrill Lynch too. They're problem solvers, and every day they're trying to think of a new product or service that can improve their clients' lives, and something that they can accomplish to continue their growth in a new world, given all the technological changes that are going on. It's about evolving and being a phoenix. So what ideas can you come up with that you want to make sure your business doesn't get Amazoned out? What's in your 2021 marketing calendar? Who are you talking to that can make that next connection that will take you to level up? Evolution can't be stopped. Think as a professional evolver. It will make it easier for you to take the inertia of changing lanes. If 2020 can be that catalyst that shows you where your strengths and priorities are, cherish and hold on to that to help you get through another 2020. Because 2020 is happening in our lives, just not in this particular year all the time. It's, something else. So if you can become an expert in evolution, nothing can stop you. Us, the world, the universe is in a constant state of rapid expansion. So there's really no reason to fear change. So the only question remains, are you ready to turn the corner and take on the race of your life? Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share these experiences with you. If you found it helpful and think you can apply it to your life, please share with your friends and spread the information. Information is power. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the panel.